Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. It's another new twist in this Michigan football saga. I know I joke about it, but every single day there is a new twist. And the latest twist is bluntly one that I did not see even 48 hours ago coming. And that is that the Big Ten appears ready to act on Michigan, suspend Jim Harbaugh, and ultimately Michigan appears ready to fight that suspension. And so to go back to even just yesterday's show, Monday's show, I said on Monday's show, we talked about Michigan beating Purdue. And I said Michigan took care of business. Purdue's only touchdown was in the final minutes of the game. And what I said was, listen, I think this is going to start to go away if Michigan keeps winning. The more they win, the further they get away from Connor Stalions, the less that anybody can argue that Connor Stalions is the reason that they're having success. And so that was my take as of, Sunday about midday when I dropped the Aaron Torres pod. And then Sunday night, I got a call from somebody a source in the Midwest that I trust. Airtight, been great. Pretty much everything he's ever told me has been spot on. And I bring it up because he has been a guy all along. He's been plugged in on this story. And he's been telling me bluntly for weeks. He said, look, Aaron, the Big Ten does not want to get involved. Tony Petitti is new in town. Michigan is potentially the best team in college football. You don't want to upset the apple cart. And the Big Ten commissioner has a lot on his plate, including 4 new schools coming into the conference in 8-9 months from now in July of 2024. And so I've been told that from somebody that I trust for about 2.5, 3 weeks now. But I bring it up because about 10, 11 o'clock on Sunday night, I got a call from him. He said, Torres, things have changed quite a bit. And the Big Ten appears ready to make a move, ready to suspend Harbaugh. And it appears as though Michigan is going to fight. We got some details via a report from Yahoo Sports, Dan Wetzel, Ross Dellinger, who have been all over this. They've done a great job, and they really kind of filled in a lot of the blanks from some of the stuff that I got on Sunday night. What the Yahoo report basically said was a couple things. Tony Petitti, as we've talked about, the new Big Ten commissioner, he did go to campus on Friday. Let me forget what I was told, but we'll just stick with the report for right now. Tony Petitti goes to campus on Friday. He meets with Michigan. This was around the time that Connor Stalions resigns. I don't think it's coincidence. Apparently, according to Yahoo, Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner, recommended a multi-game suspension for Jim Harbaugh as part of this. Remember, Tony Petitti is getting pressure from all 13 other schools in the Big Ten. Tony Petitti recommends a multi-game suspension. Michigan, their administration basically tells them, screw you, we ain't doing it. And so Petitti said, you got to come up with a game plan. I'll give you a couple days to figure something out, but you will be punished or we will punish you. And so that was the latest. That was the update. Michigan doesn't really offer up much of anything else. And now it appears the Big Ten is ready to suspend Jim Harbaugh, despite the fact that there is still yet to be a single ounce of proof that Jim Harbaugh knew anything about this. And then a couple other interesting twists from the Yahoo report. One, this is very interesting. The NCAA, which started its investigation about 2 weeks ago, but we know how the NCAA process works. It takes time. Even when they give out the notice of allegations, Michigan will have 90 days to respond well after the football season. The NCAA has now turned over its evidence to the Big Ten. The Big Ten can act independent of the NCAA, which I think is a huge part that not enough people are talking about. The NCAA is now basically giving the Big Ten all of their information. And then finally, I think the most important part is that Michigan appears ready to fight, ready to lawyer up, get an injunction, fight this thing in court to allow Jim Harbaugh to keep coaching. This is crazy. This is fascinating. And let me just say this. If the Big Ten is ready to act and Michigan is ready to fight it, good for Michigan. I defended those other 13 Big Ten schools at the start of this. I talked about, the integrity of the game and this and that and rules being broken, but enough is enough. This is getting ridiculous. And I have no problem with Michigan fighting. And really to go back to when this all started, listen, I'm ready to admit, I have changed my stance on this as more information has come out. When this story broke, whatever it was, 3 Thursdays ago, okay, I said, look, NCAA rules were clearly broken. You can't send people in person to scout games. It's against the rules. There needs to be a punishment. That was what I said, and I still stand by that. But at the same time, while that happened, I think this has just gotten so far out of proportion. I understand that schools are mad. I understand that they feel like the integrity of the game was violated. But let's call a spade here. How much impact did Connor Stalions really have? And isn't it getting a little bit overboard at this time, right? Like, first of all, let me say this. Harbaugh's had success everywhere. The idea that this is only because of Connor Stalions, give me a break. Like if Harbaugh was in year 3 right now, or year 5, and in year 1 he went 2-10, year 2 he went 2-10, then all of a sudden he's going 11-1, 11-1, and he's undefeated this year. That's different than what we've seen. Harbaugh's been great at every stop. He was great at San Diego. He was great at Stanford. He was great with the San Francisco 49ers. He was great at Michigan long before Connor Stalions ever got involved. Beyond that, you go back to last Saturday. There has been no Connor Stalions for a month. Okay. He got suspended 3 full weeks ago. They destroyed Purdue. It wasn't close. I know the final score, 41-13, they did not cover, but we talked about it on Monday's show. Purdue scored 3 points when Michigan went for it on their own 34-yard line right before halftime, and they scored another 7 points at the end of the game when it was decided. 10 of their 13 points were basically gift wrapped via Michigan, either by going for it deep in their own territory or when the game was over and they had in backups. So this idea that Michigan has egregiously broken the rules, egregiously needs to be punished, and Jim Harbaugh needs to be suspended without due process, it's ridiculous. And so to me, that's why I've kind of flipped on the Michigan side, is because like I get due process. I get being fair. I get being frustrated if you are another Big Ten school. At the same time, I also do believe in due process. I also believe, listen, we could criticize the NCAA process for how long it takes. But the one thing about the NCAA, they come to campus, they do their homework, they talk to people, they do interviews, they do follow-ups. They get all their facts in line. They get all their ducks in a row before they make any decision. And so the idea that the Big Ten wants to come in without any proof that Jim Harbaugh has done anything wrong, that is ridiculous to me. Now, look, I get it. You want something done now. You're the NCAA, you're the Big Ten, you're a school in the Big Ten that feels like you've been wronged. You want something done now. But if Jim Harbaugh had no idea, if other coaches had no idea, like, we're to throw away an entire, I don't know. It's frustrating to me. And I get the argument that, it's impossible to believe that nobody else knew. I get that. College coaches have been making that argument since before I was born. But at the same time, like, there is due process. And the idea that we're going to suspend Jim Harbaugh in the middle of a championship caliber season without any proof that he is in any way, shape, or form responsible or aware, it's ridiculous to me. And so when I look at this, a couple things stand out. One, it is clear to me that Tony Petitti, this new commissioner, his spine is not as tough as this pen. You see this pen right here for people who are watching on YouTube? See how it's nice and thick when you hit it? There's some, there's some pushback. Tony Petitti's got some fusilli for a spine. It reminds me of Kramer, the Fusilli Jerry. That's Tony Petitti right here, baby. Because, like, I get that you're trying to appease all 14 schools, but at the same time, like I said, I get that it sucks. I get that you're frustrated if you're one of these other schools. But Michigan still has its 3 toughest games ahead on its schedule. In theory, it's 4 toughest games because if they win out, they're going to be playing for a Big Ten championship. If Ohio State doesn't like it, if Penn State doesn't like it, if Maryland doesn't like it, if the Big Ten West champion doesn't like it, go out and beat them. Connor Stalions got suspended 3 weeks ago. They're not stealing signs. You've had time to change things up. And so for Tony Petitti to cower to whoever is pressuring him, shame on him. And to me, you know what he looks like to me? Another one of these spineless guys that came from out of college sports, that's in college sports. He's a businessman. He's never been under any pressure, never felt any heat, and he's cowering to public pressure. I don't like that. I think he needs to stand up and say, listen, Ohio State, Penn State, you're mad. Go beat them on the field, which is something that could very well happen. Finally, let me say this. Shame on the NCAA. And this is the part that people need to talk about. I don't know if anyone's going to talk about this besides me, but this has me fired up. The NCAA Like, it's one thing. So again, the Big Ten can break its own, but can break NCAA rules. The Big Ten does not need an NCAA approval to do their own investigation and to hand out their own punishments. It's under the integrity and all that of the league, okay? So I get that that can be done. And I have no problem with the Big Ten wanting to do what they think is best, even though I disagree with it. At the same time, for the NCAA, who under their own rules has to do their own investigation, own interviews, own whatever, they're turning stuff over to the Big Ten. You know what that says to me? That says the NCAA, one, is out to get Michigan. Like you, Michigan fans have been saying from the beginning, dude, go back to the summer. The NCAA is out to get us. I said, Michigan fans, calm down, chill out, whatever. Now, how can you not feel like the NCAA is out to get Michigan? They are literally, the Big Ten is about to have an unprecedented ruling, in part because of an unprecedented decision by the NCAA. I have never yet in my life covering college sports ever heard of the NCAA handing over its own information to expedite a punishment to an outside party. Never heard of it. Never heard of that. Never heard of it. I've never heard of them handing their own information to somebody else. You can criticize the NCAA for what you want, but when they do an investigation, it's thorough, it's detailed, they talk to people, there's due process, the school has time to respond. This is the NCAA basically saying our own process is stupid, or we're out to get Michigan, and so let's push this thing forward. Let's push this thing along. And so I think this is embarrassing. Shame on the NCAA. And finally, what I would say is this. It appears as though Michigan is ready to fight this thing in court, and good for them. I'm not a lawyer. They got plenty of good ones in their back, that have their back. Most notably, I think Tom Mars is involved, and Tom Mars is not somebody you want to mess with. But the idea that the NCAA is working with the Big Ten and that the Big Ten is about to suspend Jim Harbaugh, I think it's ridiculous. I hope Michigan fights it. I hope they get the injunction. I hope he coaches on Saturday. And listen, I'm an unbiased professional, so I don't want to say it, but I kind of hope they kick butt. I kind of hope they embarrass Penn State, walk all over that field. The whiteout turns into the empty out in the fourth quarter, because enough is enough. You want to beat Michigan, do it on the field. We'll see what happens.